All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to Wireheads, a podcast where we normally talk about Cyberpunk Red, one of our favorite TTRPGs that we have nearly done. Oh my goodness, we're nearly to 75 episodes. All right, I'm gonna.
When you add in all the point fives in, we're over 75 at this point. It's kind of nutty. But yes, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's another week, and we've got something special for you this week. Yeah. So joining us, as you can very clearly see on your screens, will be to my right. We have Chrys Sellers of Hectic Electron Games with us for a special little interview here about her new game, Defy the Gods. As well as another game of theirs, the Raccoon Sky Pirates, I do believe it was called. So, Chrys, thank you so much for being here with us this week. It's great.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. So, for anybody that's been around, a lot of our interviews do follow a pretty similar format, and Emmerron, looking at a lot of your questions, it seems that like you've got a lot of our typical kickoff questions. Would you like to start on this end, even though it's an even bounce it over into your court?
All good. So Chrys, first of all, just to get a feel for who you are for our audience, how did you get involved in TTRPGs, both as like a player and certainly now as a creator who has got several games of your own?
Yeah, I got involved when I was 12. I played first edition D&D, not really knowing how to play. None of my friends knew how to play either, but we're kind of kit bashing it as we went, and then fell out of it until college, and the time shortly after college when I discovered Call of Cthulhu and Deadlands and a bunch of really cool games at the time in like late 90s, early aughts. And then I sort of started, in addition to playing a lot, playing at cons, running a lot, running at cons, it's a slippery slope. Before you know it, you're making your own game. And it's it's a bad trip, kids. Don't do it. Stay off drugs.
Stay off drugs. That's
Oh gosh.
I'll need to tell James Hutt that one. I'm sure he would have something to say about that one.
Yeah, probably.
It's the 80s panic all over again.
Oh my God, it's true. And I made the original Raccoon Sky Pirates for Zine Quest 3 on Kickstarter, and that was such a great entry because it could be spur of the moment. It was a zine. I ended up making it like adding a deck of cards and a 12-sided die, like a silly person, which meant that suddenly it was a box, but it was still basically it was all black and white. And I mean, I've got it here. I've got the box anyway.
Yes.
So it was in the mailer box, and it had this zine and some loose leaf sheets, and then there would be a deck of cards in here and a die and some void fill. And I did not factor in the price of shipping when I did the Kickstarter. I did the price of shipping for flat for a zine, but not for like a whole box. But never mind that. I survived that. That was fine. And I've just been sort of bullheading my way into it since then and learning sometimes hard lessons on the fly, but like that's the fun of it. And so that was a really great entree because I didn't have to be so self-conscious about it,
Sure.
And I was really, really gratified by the response it got. Fortunately, I did let it go out of print because I just couldn't keep assembling all those boxes here in my house. So I'm really excited to be bringing it back this spring. But in between there, I tried to take a big swing and make a very personal game that, this was, obviously Raccoon Sky Pirates comes from my life too. But Defy the Gods, it's queer. It's got queer romance in it. It's got adventure. It's kind of my fantasy heartbreaker in a way, or at least it started out that way, and it ended up becoming more like its own thing, so it's also my foray into Powered by the Apocalypse games. Anyway, it's really ambitious and just like, like 300 pages and full of art and just
that's
like
pretty. Yeah.
Oh God, it's so beautiful, you all. And I got some amazing artists. I got some amazing editors. It took a lot of people to make this game, and that was really gratifying. It was really gratifying to do something that I felt like reflected me as a person and who I was and who I was becoming. And wow, making a game that big was also a huge learning experience with a lot of interesting mistakes.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually curious to hear about those in just a moment. But so just to walk back into your history just a little bit there. So at what point then did you form in that whole kind of figuring things out? When did you form Hectic Electron Games in kind of the midst of all the projects and such?
I had actually, I glossed over a few things. I had done so first I got the domain Hectic Electron because I was doing web design at the time. And I never really did anything with it in web design, but that's why I was thinking electronic stuff. But then I did an adventure for Dungeon Crawl Classics RPG. And that was my first sort of Hectic Electron publication. And then I did a hack book for Pelgrane Press's Ashen Stars game. And so that was like still not a full game, but a supplement and a reimagining. And that, so like those were like things I was using the Hectic Electron Games name for. But so I guess I put it together as a company back when I signed the contract with Dungeon Crawl Classics to put out a third-party thing, and then I got like a sales license and all this stuff.
That's a wild journey.
So that was that was probably 2018, 2019, I want to say.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So not all that distantly in the past, but yeah.
No, it's just happened really fast. Yeah.
That's wild. So then, and so I guess you kind of answered this, but I guess beyond Defy the Gods and Raccoon Sky Pirates, what all have you worked on? Like, what's your body of work up to this point?
Yeah, I think that's most of it.
Okay.
Let me think. Yeah, I think that's it. So Prison of the Mad Gods is my Dungeon Crawl Classics module where it takes place inside a 20-sided tesseract.
Yes.
That's like this prison holding these gods of chaos in it. You know it, or like you're even just hearing about it?
My GM actually ran it for us back when I was in college.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, that's great! So, awesome.
Back in like, it's like, oh yeah, oh
there
god,
you go.
That was a long. That was
okay. So it was a while ago.
It felt like a forever ago, but it's
it might have been like I don't remember.
Yeah.
When I put it out, like okay, it says 2019. Okay.
Yeah. No, Diamond's a bit younger than me, so that is equally likely that it was that recently.
2020. Yeah. That was a time ago. Oh gosh.
That was just 6 years ago. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's wild though. So Diamond, you actually have history with some of her work. That's wild. Great. I didn't realize that.
This was an adventure I was partially present for, but also because that was a time when I was working nights. But like for what I would hear about like what would be going on inside the Tesseract, it was like, why do you guys have to do it on nights where I got to go to work early?
Oh.
At some point, I do want to get my hands on a copy to run it. I do.
It is so hard to get everyone together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scheduling.
Both of us. Even now when we're like running things and getting paid for it, it's still, I think that's probably it's still one of the kryptonites of doing anything, is like you're always gonna have one or two people. Even I've been that person for Diamond, like a week ago when I had to travel. I'm like, I'm sorry, Diamond, but I have to pack tonight. I can't be on stream.
The boss monster scheduling.
I always feel bad about it. It never feels good. So then, tell us a little bit, because I know both of us have a couple of questions specifically about Defy the Gods. That's most of what we kind of came prepared to chat about, though I do want to chat about Raccoon Sky Pirates a little bit as well, because when you pitched that one to me at Gamma, where we met, that was one of those things that I'm like, I know a good number of people in my personal life that if I brought this out and pitched it to them, they'd be like, we need to play that like right now, and I won't accept a substitute for that.
It sounds like a certain cryptid that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, she's one of them. There's a couple. But I guess to begin, before we start asking you a bunch of questions about Defy the Gods, for our audience as well as for us, just so that we're not talking over faulty points, because we've tried to do some research, but I like hearing it from your mouth directly. What is Defy the Gods? Give us the pitch and kind of what the game is.
Okay, here's the pitch. It's a queer sword and sorcery adventure romance set in fantasy ancient Mesopotamia. It's inspired by Clash of the Titans and Princess Mononoke and and Conan, and you're in a world where jealous gods and cruel tyrants want to destroy you.
There it is.
That's the elevator pitch. It's powered by the Apocalypse. It's got a roll too high mechanic that it borrows from Apocalypse Keys by Ray Najati, where you can roll a miss, you can roll a perfect success, you can roll a burning success where you get more than you bargained for, and things go off the rails, and it actually feels very sword and sorcery, and it's, so you build I say fantasy ancient Mesopotamia, but you're making up your own version of it. Like you make your own pantheon, everybody makes a god, you build your own city state from pick lists, you define the wilds full of creatures and the legacy of lost Atlantis, or at least what people say about it, and the underworld. And once you have all that, you have these forces that are either sort of waiting for you to discover them, or just actively, trying to kill you. It's got a lot of flirting mechanics from Thirsty Sword Lesbians. So like people who like that, I think will really have a fun time with this. And then, like I said, it has this kind of upward doom spiral of the more times you roll too high, and the more times you trigger this pivotal move called Defy the Gods, the more you ascend to monstrous godlike power.
Yeah, and it's like normally the ascension to godhood, I think, in a lot of sword and sorcery is not framed as a bad thing. And like even just reading the quick start, which for everyone's knowledge, you can get the quick start for this for free. If I remember to do this correctly, I will put the link to it below in whatever description fields, etc. for YouTube, Spotify. Like we'll make sure to try and get that there, and probably put up an announcement in our servers. But even just reading over that, it very much was like, oh, that's not a good thing at all. Like that actually gets very ugly in some ways. It feels,
that's what will end your character. You probably won't die because it's powered by the Apocalypse. It's a story game, but you may become the enemy. You may become one of these world forces, like the gods in the city, and then you stop being a playable character. You hopefully make a new playable character, and the GM gets to use this godlike version of you as an antagonist. So,
that's okay. Yeah, literally when like Diamond, you were saying it as I was thinking it. It's in Cyberpunk we have something called cyberpsychosis. That's very much like you lose yourself to a combination of mental trauma and just the like very alien idea. I think like anyone who lives now and doesn't really have the option, it's taking your arm and replacing it with a cyber arm. Well, that doesn't feel very human. Like, and it suddenly you can think faster, move faster, hit stronger, like, and so
But
suddenly
this is a machine connected to my body.
Literally, the stat in the game is called humanity. That is one of the costs that you're paying every time you're installing cyberware, and you can get therapy, and there's some drugs even that they've introduced over the course of the game to like mend some of those downfalls. But yeah, it very much turns into, if you don't monitor it and do the right thing, you will eventually become an NPC at the table in the worst way possible.
See, that's interesting, because I think that there's something else similar going on in Defy the Gods that is not problematized. Like the power is a problem, and like you can lose yourself, and it's the hearts you share with other people, the hearts you make vulnerable to other people that let you stay human, that can pull you back from the brink. But there's also like mutation and warping, physical warping of the body, especially for the sorcerer playbook, but also for anybody else who sort of runs afoul of their sorcery. You could be changed. There's a D40 table that you roll on when you roll a miss when you're casting a spell, and that is actually meant to be like interesting and definitely weird, but fun. Like glorious. Oh, you're changing, your body's changing. I mean, it's very trans. Like,
right.
Yeah. So like sorcery, usually in sword and sorcery stories, the sorcery is very wrong and very like unmanly and disorderly and violating the human body. And I'm like, yeah, I love all that stuff. I love the chaos. I love the transformation. And that isn't what makes you inhuman. It's power that makes you inhuman. So like I am trying to take a bunch of these sword and sorcery tropes that, like, especially in Conan and similar stories, Fallen Gore or whatever, those stories have a very unquestioning view of this with sort of blinders on, at least from my point of view. And I'm trying to tweak that and queer that.
Got it.
So it's interesting. Like I'm kind of doing cyberpunk and I'm kind of doing something, a different thing too, Right.
Well, and I mean, I think with the way cyberpunk is, it's funny because Diamond and I, we talk about this pretty often. We were actually just talking about earlier today. The whole idea of cyberpunk is like, you've got to be on board with some of that queer storytelling, because like at the end of the day, if you can modify everything else about your body, what is gender? If we're being very upfront and direct about it, it's like that doesn't really chalk up to a whole lot outside of like, where do you fit in within your view of society and your place in it, kind of thing. You can modify it all at whim. So like, what's stopping you?
And there's a kind of post-humanity and transhumanity about it that I love.
Yes.
I mean, you can pick up gender at your local Biotechnica clinic or something. I don't know. I'm feeling a little snarky today, just a little. But yeah, we will be talking a little bit further, like on some of the storytelling aspects of Defy the Gods that I was looking into.
Cool.
But I one of my questions actually that I did want to bring up that you had mentioned in your elevator pitch. So like in its introduction, like you said, you are dealing with capricious gods, a city that wants to push your people to the margins, a wild lands full of dangers and like other cryptic things beyond. So, as fellow queer person here, IRL, we do face threats from, religion, society, and also a growingly hostile environment. Global warming is real. So I guess when people are looking for fantasy games, especially for queer folk, and they see this in Defy the Gods, why should they play Defy the Gods?
There's
that is my question.
There's so much queer love in Defy the Gods. There's so much like the joy and messiness of queer love. I mean, definitely players, you don't have to be queer to play it, but queer themes will make your game better. And like you can't. Everybody in every playbook in the game has a superpower, for lack of a better word. You know, they can change the world around them in powerful ways that are often queer coded, and that I think can feel very empowering. And also you get to make the world that you are fighting against. And in between adventures and at the very start of the game, you play a brief interlude scene as those world forces, the pantheon of gods or the city rulers, or you pick one, just to answer a question and sharpen up where the GM's supposed to focus. And so you are, yes, you are modeling oppression, but it's fantasy oppression. It's Bronze Age, baked clay oppression. And you can, and there's actually a bit in the book about how being aware of how much you want to modulate that oppression. How literal do you want it to be? The default mode is not literal at all. The gods in the city hate you because you're a sorcerer or because you were raised by animals in the wild, not because you're actually queer. So it's a little bit behind a veil, but even when you play out that oppression, then you also get to play how you fight back, and you get to model how you fight back, and you get to explore different strategies for fighting back. There's not a lot of street protests in the game's text. It's not that kind of fighting back, but it's still, okay, how are we going to lean on each other? How are we going to feel empowered to change the world?
So very much standing against powers that be, and
totally with the strength of your friends and loved ones, the strength of the people you share hearts with.
Because personally, I find that interesting. Like, that is something that I will always explore, no matter if you put that in front of me, I'll explore it. I just, if I was to introduce this to others, where it's just like they play tabletop games to escape the horrors of our reality, it's just like, how would I present that to them? So,
because it's also a romp, it's a wild ride. You get to be in a submissive relationship with an exiled god, or you get to swing a sword around and just up and kill somebody without even rolling, or change yourself in the world with sorcery. So it's fun. It's not. It's also sometimes, I think, at least what I've gotten out of it is being able to name and visualize your antagonist, your oppressor, for lack of a better word, and to say, okay, this is the god of hallucinations and harvest or whatever, and that's who I'm fighting against. I think that can be kind of a stretch. There's some movies where my spouse is like, yeah, I want to watch that movie when I have a good mood to spare, and then we never watch it because we don't have a good mood to spare. And I feel like this doesn't hit that way.
Sure. Well, and I think and you said something that I know, as someone who certainly is an ally, but not of the queer community. I'm an ally of the community, but not of the community myself. It definitely, I look at my neurodivergency, and once I had a name for that, it re-empowered me in ways that I never really knew it could before I had the name for you, my friend, are autistic. And I'm like, oh, okay. That starts putting some pieces together, and and then it gives you something to kind of focus some of those energies on, whether that is mitigating some of the stuff that makes it more difficult to live with, or finding ways to navigate life through it relatively normally. Both having the name is the thing that kind of opens that path for you. So I can definitely understand from that angle, being able to name the power against you is a bigger deal that I think a lot of people give that credit for.
I think that's really insightful. Yeah.
Well, so I know, obviously, to talk just a little bit about the gameplay itself. So I know you've said it, and I, in reading it, obviously, Powered by the Apocalypse is kind of the engine underneath it all that is running things. But it's got a ton of its own identity, and it's very clearly its own thing separate from just the Powered by the Apocalypse under the hood. So as you developed and built the game, what kind of did that design process look like? Like, where did this kind of start and then develop into what it's become today?
Yeah, it started really kind of filtering up out of my subconscious. Like, I didn't know how I was gonna make it at first, and I'd say it's a very inefficient way to make a game where you're like, I have all these just sort of barely articulated ideas, and I just have a feeling I want to get, and that's a great way to spend 4 or 5 years making a game. So like, I knew, I wanted a game that, like the mechanics were all over the place at first. It was a bag builder, it was a dice pool thing, but I hit on sword and sorcery pretty early because I wanted a D&D experience that made sense to me, that was a story game at its core instead of tactical, that was hitting certain story beats rather than visualizing things in a more tactical and
almost war gamey kind of way. Even reading the book, it comes across like this is a very narratively driven experience.
Yeah. And so like I wanted a game where the world made sense and you had a holistic sense of what the stakes were. Like, that's a great thing about saying, okay, you have the Pantheon at the very top, you have death at the very bottom, you know what the stakes are, you know what the scope of this story is going to be. And so like, and then like I had a death in the family, and that kind of made me want to have a game that was very very juicy and full of life, that felt like death was in the world somewhere, but you were gonna have a wild ride before your story ended. And just let that story get as wild as possible and as full and big as you could possibly imagine, again within the stakes that you've set. And like, so that was one of the original driving forces. I settled on sword and sorcery because just because I love it. It's very physical, it's very embodied. And also I was starting to figure out my gender at the time, and so I was just kind of like in love with the world in a way. Like, it was this whole unfolding, and so I wanted to get that expressiveness in there, and sword and sorcery feels like it's really good for that juice. And then I was looking at the setting, and because I wanted to be sword and sorcery, when I think about sword and sorcery, I think about the original Conan movie. I think about lots of book cover paintings I've seen, and they always seem to be in some kind of unnamed temple from somewhere out east, somewhere a long time ago. And I wanted to get past the Orientalism of that, of the the exoticizing of just the East, which is like, and the kind so of like full of bullshit.
Exactly, the overt imperialism of it all too, like where it's very much like, let's plunder these ancient places. It's like, as much as like Indiana Jones' catchline is like, that belongs in a museum. It's like, does it though? Like, I don't know about that, man.
Sometimes there's things I see them dig up. It's like, no, put it back. We have enough problems. Put it back.
As much as they hated the second movie, they actually kind of got that a little bit, where he's like returning the stones to the priest, and he's like, yes, I see the power now, and like, I respect it. He's very humble at the end. But the movie had narrative problems. But so anyway, like, I read Orientalism by Edward Said. I okay, I listened to it on tape, but like I got into all that, and I was like, oh my God, this is a really long history of the West doing this. So I was going for ancient times because I wanted to get before Europe. I want to get away from Europe, I wanted to get away from D&D. So away from Western Europe, away from the Middle Ages, away from everything the Middle Ages kind of brings with it, like Christendom. But then I had to start examining what I was vaguely aiming toward and kind of sharpen it up. So I wanted to be like, I got real specific. I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on ancient Sumer and Babylon and the Akkadian Empire that time, because those Conan paintings I remember seeing, kind of book covers or whatever, they always seem to be reaching for kind of a time before the Hyborian Age, before history. And ancient Sumer is kind of on the edge of that. It's like it's literally the beginning of history in that region because they're inventing writing. So it had a lot of those vibes, but it was more specific. I'm sorry, Diamond, were you trying to say something?
Well, I think that kind of starts answering one of the first questions I had was like, what, like, part of what helped decide ancient Mesopotamia to begin with. But I guess the other half of that question that I had, was there the possibility of an original fictional setting for this, or was it always going to be a fictional spin on real world history?
I have a guide to fantasy ancient Sumer in the book, so there is a bunch of source book kind of material in there, like this is what you hold wine in, this is what you drink out of, this is like I get really nerdy about it. This is their counting system, but with some anachronisms that were just because, like, unique coins, in a fantasy game, things like that. But I wanted to, I had all these setting ideas, but I also wanted to empower the players to make a game that a world they'd be invested in. I originally wanted this to be a GM-less game, and it was actually Avery Alder who told me. And Avery Alder, who for me is like the definition of a great GM-less game, are the games she makes. But she actually told me, no, if you're telling a story with a narrative arc, you kind of need a GM. So I did as much as I could to distribute that GM power around the table, while still giving the GM that responsibility of framing scenes, framing a plot. So relatively early on in the design, when a lot of other stuff was in flux, my spouse helped me figure out the Pantheon builder, where you make it. Each person picks a name from a list, and then they've got 4 domains that they fill in. They just pick from a list. They go across, and everybody does that. And that worked so well that I was kind of giving up that world building power, or at least some of it, to players right from the beginning. And I think kind of a holdover from the GM-less phase of it are these world building worksheets that, it was just a bunch of pick lists. It goes really fast, that give the players that power to say, this is what our city is like. These are the kind of products they make. Myrrh and salt, and that also just lent so much flavor right from the beginning that I just ran with it. I have at times, because I used to like making comic books, I have at times thought about like, oh man, I could do a whole story, like an epic, but a really queer epic in a world like this. It's a world sort of one iteration of this game. But comics are so much work, y'all.
I was like, for all the art that even is in the quick start, like, because I haven't even seen the full core rule book, but I know just based on how much art is already in the free quick start that I'm like, oh no, like there's a lot there, and even that would like pale in the amount you would need for a comic book.
I had this big art budget, and then I ran the Kickstarter based on it, and then after the Kickstarter, God help me, I was like, Oh, there's like a lot more chapters than I thought there were going to be, and every chapter needs a full page piece right before it. Yeah. And every part of the book, there's like 4 different or 5 different main sections of the book. Oh, that needs a full page piece too. And that is not a great way to plan a book. You know, don't be like me. Plan that all out a lot better, and don't get carried away with your enthusiasm. This is the thing, like, because this was like I felt like, oh, I'm never going to get a chance to this again, you know? It was kind of how I was approaching the whole damn thing. So I was like, no, I got to keep going. I got to make it better and bigger. It's been a beautiful book, and I'm just glad I still, like, have, you know, can pay my bills.
Yeah, you came out the other side with your sanity and finances intact.
Barely. I've got to, yeah, I won't go into it. Oh, exactly. But yes. I'm hanging in.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as like the more gameplay side of this, and this might be only a slightly misinformed view, just because I only have the quick start to reference for this. But from the quick start alone, it seemed that the game, almost by design, is very much like, it does not care about what kind of weapon or what kind of equipment you've got. It is very much about, like we've already been discussing, the relationships, the like inherent qualities of your character that are more metaphysical than regular gear.
So 100%. It's a story game. So
yeah. But I know, like, even with other more narratively focused games, there are times where some of that gets filtered back in bits and pieces. So the question I have, I guess, is kind of twofold. One, what led to that decision where, like, gear was not really going to be a thing? And then two, if somebody perhaps wants to add drips and drabs of that back into the game, what would your kind of, I guess, take on that be? What would that maybe look like for the people who might have that question?
Yeah. So I was really fascinated by Powered by the Apocalypse games. Story games in general, but that engine specifically, just because that's the one that baked my noodle. I remember playing Night Witches years ago at a con, and I was like, what? One of your stats is medals, and you start with 0, and you just get them by going through theaters of operation and getting accommodation from the GMs and NPCs. Like, what? That's your stat, and there's some things you just have to roll plus medals. If you don't have any, you're shit out of luck. Like, I was like, oh, you're never going to tell a story like that unless the mechanics push you toward it. So I got really fascinated by that, and by, you know, Apocalypse World, the whole lineage, and I couldn't really understand it without starting to make my own.
Sure.
And test it, and play a lot more of those PBTA games, but really to start writing my own. And like, there's a magic in there where it's like, oh, you're emulating story beats. You're not emulating, you know, you're not simulating a world in its nitty gritty. Since then, I've gotten really fascinated by more tactical rules and rules that really embody these physical things about the world, and that are more sandboxy. You know, there's a risk with a story game of having a certain ironic distance, because your character can be really separate from you. And I think that OSR and NSR games are really good at, like, when there's a sense of oh, you can fail at stuff, then you get really bought in, you know. You don't want to fail, you don't want to miss your roll. You know, in a story game, you miss your roll, you mark XP, and your character gets new wrinkles and texture, and, you know, and it's wonderful. It's a downbeat, but it's a downbeat that sets you up for an upbeat later, you know?
Right.
So I was really fascinated by that, and I tried to really dig into the possibilities of it, and try to avoid the kind of railroadiness that a PBTA game can sometimes have. But to get back to your original question, you you can definitely mix tactics into this. I think you'll have your work cut out for you. The part of the magic of a Powered by the Apocalypse game is, or a Forged in the Dark game, you know, is that they are these cohesive clockworks that where all the gears are fitting in with each other. So like, you take wounds in this game, but when you do, you're wounding one of your epithets. Your stats are epithets. Your stats are these phrases that describe who you are, what you believe, how you act. And when you take harm in a battle, one of those becomes wounded. You know, they start out worth like +0, +1, +2, and they can go up. And there are sort of these superpowered epithets called dooms that start even higher, and you're rolling 2d6 and adding that stat. But when you get wounded, it becomes worth -1. Not one less, but just flat -1. So it becomes almost worthless to roll with if you want to succeed. So you can take wounds, and when you mark all your epithets with wounds, then you enter this crisis, and that's like you at your lowest. So you can definitely bolt on more tactical stuff to it. It's gonna be a bolt on. It's gonna be a thing where it better be its own little mini game. That sort of checks in once in a while with story. You know, creates a story beat once in a while. I mean, there's definitely every playbook but the Sorcerer has a combat move, and in those moves, there's often options like create a big distraction or make a big maneuver that gives your fellow players +1 to fight, or dodge out of the way. So there are definitely sort of API endpoints to like a web developer, like where you could say, okay, this is where the tactics would come in, or this is where the tactics would feed in to what we've got going on here. Yeah. So like the more I think about it, where there are these options in a lot of the combat moves, there are places where those tactics could feed in.
Got it.
And there's an ambivalent thing about rolling high in this game, like I was saying. Yeah. So a lot of those things give you +1, but not plus or -1. You can't adjust your roll to where you want it. It's always going to be, you know, higher and higher. So you're not gonna. So sometimes you're going to go over the edge and go too far, and that's a big part of it.
Well, and as you just kind of pointed out, the harder you dive into developing your epithets and building them up, the more likely that is the possibility you're encountering just by numbers and math. Yeah.
And that's what makes you a monster eventually.
So it's piggyback off of some of this conversation, and I had been reading through this, and you had mentioned there is some inspiration from Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I see it a little bit in, like, especially like I know they call it strings, but you call it hearts, and this led me to a further thought. Emmerron and I had been told by Jay Gray from our Talsorian Games, if you want to make your cyberpunk games better, go play other games. So I just want to ask, what other games do you enjoy, and what might you have learned from them?
That's such a deep question. Like, that goes deep. Like,
hi.
Oh man, you know, I love Thirsty Sword Lesbians by April Kit Walsh and team. I love the messy romance. I will treasure my magical girl pirate till the end of the world that I played in that game. I love I love the modeling of, you know, and Thirsty Sword Lesbians gets this from Monster Hearts, the modeling of sometimes being turned on without necessarily planning on it, without maybe even wanting to. It works in that kind of messy romance way, you know? It's not like there's always consent built in. It's a kind of like, oh God, I've got the sweat bead going down my forehead now, you know? Like in a fun way, like oh God, don't throw me in the fire, please throw me in the fire.
It's like,
yeah.
I didn't know this was actually something I liked.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Have a string.
Yeah, and I wanted to have that. I wanted to have that kind of like, oh boy, I'm getting in over my head kind of feeling. But I also so I got that from Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I from Apocalypse Keys by Ray Najati. I got the Rolling Too High, the Doom Spiral, and the sense of, oh, it's your friends, it's these people that you have bonds with that pull you back and keep you as human as a monster can be. And there's so much love in that game for beautiful, misshapen monsters. And it's so lovely. I am looking at my shelf. There are so many other streams of game design that I ended up not being able to incorporate in this game, and that was a big growing up moment for me, you know. As Lila McBee Fujiwara, my biggest developmental editor, said, you don't have to make every game. Just this game. Just let this game be the game it's going to be, and don't try to make it all games to all people. So there are things like I have so much affection for, like I was saying earlier, Pelgrane games with the Gumshoe engine by Robin Laws, where there's a sometimes literary quality to those games because you're piecing together a mystery, and the game wants you to figure out the mystery, but it is a predetermined answer that you are figuring out, and the way they let that unfold is really beautiful. And I would like to do a tactical game at some point, you know? I would like to do, I think that the whole Mouse Trader inventory system kind of thing is brilliant. I love both in Mouse Trader and in Blades in the Dark, the way that the graphic design and physical relational layout of a piece of paper matters and informs the gameplay, and it helps clarify the gameplay. That blew my mind. So I've already talked a bit about this sort of the fascination I have with Powered by the Apocalypse in general. I'm now seeing some amazingly lightweight, deceptively simple games that are card driven, and so I have in mind an idea for a card driven spy game where you've got a hand of cards you're keeping close to the vest, you know, and it would be more like what Jay Dragon has called expressionist games, where there's an antagonistic relationship between your character, and the character that the GM is playing. And that's a thing I'm really fascinated with. At the same time, I also love Jason Cordova's Brindlewood, card from Brindlewood games, like the Between and Brindlewood Bay. Brindlewood Bay, I don't know if you guys know, it has this radical approach to mystery solving, which Apocalypse Keys picked up on, which is, there is no predetermined answer to the mystery. Like unlike Gumshoe, you are amassing a bunch of clues, and you're tying them to different aspects of the story that are like this big list that the GM has written out for you. And the more that you tie to different aspects of the story, the stronger the clues are, and then you roll plus clues. And if you do well enough, it's like plus clues and minus the complexity of the mystery. It's a pretty simple formula. And then the better you do in that roll, the more true your answer is.
Oh,
it's so wild.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it combines, so then it combines some of that like player-driven narrative aspect of things like Powered by the Apocalypse or Like the one that I've been talking everyone who will listen's ear off about is Daggerheart lately. Because that's the first one I've really seen to combine some of that tactical gameplay with a fairly narrative forward kind of focus.
Yeah.
And
I love that. There's a huge cross-pollination space there.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing, after demoing it at several cons, the most recent of which was this last weekend, the really fascinating thing, especially since it's been the same module every time I've run it at those convention spaces, there are 2 points in the adventure where the game master looks at the players and says, this is the environment that you are entering, but something here is very noteworthy. What is it? And the players speak truth into existence then. Whatever they say is the truth.
That's so good.
It's beautiful, because then it's like, because the setting, because this is the quick start that they use on their website that everyone can go get. But it takes place in this region of the world known as the Sablewood. And so while the module itself doesn't take a lot of lengths to really explain deeply what the Sablewood is, it does mention the big thing is this wood is ancient. Like some would say the oldest trees here predate even the gods. And that you can get a sense of some of that history when you enter. But it's like when the party first comes in, they're on a mission from a king. And that king is not of the Sablewood. He is sending them there to deal with a problem that one of the people in the wood has written him about. So when they first enter the wood, the question is, something about this wood sets it apart very noticeably from every other forest you have ever been to. What is it? And then you just look at whichever player is the most shy and you bring them out of the shell with that, basically. Because it's a pretty low stakes answer. Like, you're just like, what is it?
Right. Big Fangorn Forest vibes. I love that. Yeah, that's cool. A thing I got from Jason Cordova's The Between, I also saw it in Through the Void by Plus One EXP, that is the unseen. Like, they'll do these little interludes where the player characters aren't present, and they just ask the players to describe what's going on at this moment in the city, at this moment in the space station. And that's where I got the world scene from for Defy the Gods, where the player characters aren't present. It does affect the player characters more directly, but sometimes it's really oblique, and it's just the players giving the GM little gems. Here, go with this. So I do love any mechanics that will draw the shy players out in a way that is, consensual, because that's a real nut to crack. Is, okay, sure, you can make a game for people who can improvise really well,
right?
And good for them. They almost don't need rules, and you can make a game that is got such a tight scaffolding of rules that you almost forget to role play, or you get even better, you get kind of tricked into role playing because you're just thinking about the tactics, and then your character just kind of comes up between the cracks, wells up out of you. But like, how do you make a game? Like, can you even make a game for everybody? Can you make a game that has different speeds, or different, where you can use the rule, the rules come in as you need them or something? Right. Like, that's a real thing to try to crack, I think.
It is. And I've seen a couple of games, like Daggerheart being kind of one of them, where that can be kind of true, because you can kind of set up the pacing as to be as punchy or as slow as your table kind of wants it to be, and also kind of how the narrative calls for it to be. But even within Defy the Gods, like, just looking at the quick start of it, it was like very much, there's definitely elements of that in there too, which is like, what do you want the pacing to be? How fast, slow, or between those, ends of the spectrum do you kind of want the narrative to unfold? Because like, the thing that was very fun was seeing at the very back, like the quick start adventure, if you will, was like how to defy the gods in a night. And I'm like, well, that just tells you a breakneck pace is what you're about to get.
Right.
But
Totally.
obviously a campaign is going to slow that way down.
Yeah. A big way to speed it up, what you always do for a one shot is you start everybody out with half their XP and half their fire track already filled. And the fire track is what leads you to the move Defy the Gods, where your immortal pride is blazing up higher. So like you just start them out halfway there, and somebody will reach that move by the end of a 4 hour. And the first hour is like character building, world building, a little bit of world building. You just do a couple world forces, and a brief world scene. And then you have this breakneck 3 hours where shit gets out of hand really fast.
So we do keep bringing up world forces here. And you have mentioned them just lightly a little bit. Would you mind talking about the major 5 world forces that you have? Share with the audience here.
Yeah, so it starts with the Pantheon. Like I was saying, each player makes a god, and if you have as many gods as players, that's a pretty good balance. You can always make more gods later. And then you build the city-state. It's an independent city-state somewhere on the edge of a big central sea. And you figure out what it's known for. There's going to be one thing about every city-state that is supernatural or unique in the world, and you figure that out pretty quickly. But also, what big landmark does it have that people know about from other cities? How is it ruled? What are the coins made out of? What products is it known for? Dried fish, obsidian, gems. What is it? And there's like a dozen questions like that, which includes, how do the laws of the city make you feel like you don't belong in your own city? And I really had to modulate that one because I didn't want to get too real,
Sure.
But also, what secret community is there in the city that you know about? What's the hangout in your neighborhood, which is the poor neighborhood, just spoilers, that you all love to congregate in? What's a public event of the city that you love? Because it is your city, you love it. And what's the secret community? Is it expatriates from other cities? Is it smugglers, the Thieves Guild? So there's all this stuff that you make in the city, and then you make the wilds that surround the city. What kind of terrain do you want to have? And there's a big list of, for each kind of terrain, there's a way the city tries to exploit it. Because I was really inspired by Princess Mononoke with this, and also what kinds of creatures are in these different kinds of terrain. The sea, the islands, the marshes, the mountains. So that's 3 of them. And then the 4th one is the legacy of Atlantis. Atlantis is the civilization of mortals before humans were created that were the gods' favorites until they invented sorcery. And then the gods destroyed them utterly. Because sorcery could unmake the gods. And also because the gods are very proud and they don't want anybody to have power that could threaten theirs. And this was interesting because it started out as the shadow of Atlantis, where it was this really antagonistic force. But as the queer themes got sharper, with a lot of help from a lot of playtesters, including Evil Hat Productions, they gave me some great advice on this. As the queer themes got sharper, it really became clear that what Atlantis really represented was your queer elders from a lost age. It's Weimar Germany. It's 19th century Louisiana, New Orleans. It's Fire Island, New York City in 1980. Or LA in the 70s. These communities that were erased so totally. I hate this, right? But we're erased so totally that we sometimes don't remember their history, and we sometimes don't remember that people like us have been here before. And so it became this here were a people who lived without fear of the gods, without fear of death, and who had a sublime glory, and whose history you have to find and rediscover. in the closest thing this game has to a dungeon crawl. But also, they want to live again, and their time is over, and it's your time now. We have to live in our time. So there's a poignancy that I'm going for with it, and all we have when you start the game are legends. These are what people say about the Atlanteans. These are what people say about where they came from, what happened to them, and here's what happened to the last guy who tried to get into an Atlantean ruin. He came back and still maintains he's king of the world, or he came back with a fortune in gems, but he was kind of strangled in his bedchamber. Something about that world is incompatible with ours. And then the last one that you make is the underworld, and you start out with like, where is the entrance to the underworld found? What's guarding it? How do you go into it? What's it like going into it? There's a haunting myth from Sumerian mythology called Inanna's descent to the netherworld, and she's this very ambitious goddess. And sorry, this is such a tangent.
No. This is fascinating.
She's this very ambitious goddess who's always like trying to claim other gods and goddesses' domains for her own. And she decides that she is going to take over rulership of the underworld from her sister. And so she goes down to the underworld, and she gets there, she's banging on the gate, and she's all decked out in all her finery. And there's a whole bit in the thing about her putting on her necklace and her, all these things, her breastplate and her staff, her scepter. And so she gets there, and the doorman is freaking out, and he goes to his queen, the queen of the underworld, queen of this world where the sun never shines, to say, what are we going to do? And the queen says, let her in each of the 7 gates one at a time, but at each one make her give up something. And so it's this eerie, haunting story of her taking, surrendering each one of each of these things that she had put on. And it's like all the things that made her human, that made her a person. And by the time she gets through the last gate, she's just a cadaver, and they hang her up like a slab of meat on a hook.
Wow.
And the whole rescue story that comes after that, and the whole my husband isn't mourning me and he's a piece of shit that comes after that too. Like it's a big thing, but like that was just haunting to me. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've lived this. Jesus, oh yeah, there's a mortification happening. So that's definitely one of the ways you can get into the underworld. Give up one thing that makes you human at each of the 7 gates. But there's all these other ways too. It's a pick list. You can just pick them. And like, what are the demons like? What is it that keeps shades from leaving the underworld? But how do they leave anyway? One of the characters you can play is the Revenant, who has left the underworld. And yeah, there are demons hunting them, but they are a new person. And they're figuring out who. So this was the last playbook I wrote. They're not who they were when they were alive in their past life, and they're not who they were when they were dead. And there's somebody new, and they're still figuring it out. And they get a lot of there's a power in that. And it was when I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, I'm trans. So it's very much the baby trans playbook. Each playbook is like a sword and sorcery archetype and a recognizable figure from queer life. Anyway, to answer your question, that's the Pantheon, the city, the wilds, the legacy of Atlantis, and the underworld. And then once you have that, you've got like a whole world, top to bottom.
Yeah. Still, it's really fascinating to me, and honestly, I'm kind of in awe of, just like you said, kind of the depth and poignancy of like some of that, especially around Atlantis, like just being like allegory in ways for the queer community, and the idea of like, yeah, that was our fight then, this is our fight now, and they aren't the same fight at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can take inspiration from them. Like the very broadly sort of sketched in, there's kind of a suggestion in the book with a lot of scene prompts, like ideas for scenes, that your relationship with Atlantis starts with complete utter bewilderment, being lost, starting to get familiar with it, and then embracing the legacy, where you learn something about it, you see the ways they were human or like human, and and then you can bring that back out with you. So that's at least what I try for. But so each of them has a different, like the really antagonistic ones are the Pantheon, who hate you for who you are and want to crush you, and the City who wants to ignore you and push you to the margins, and Death, who's just hungry and waiting to take you in and lock you up. And then there's like the wilds, the creatures, they don't care about you,
Right.
But they have this place, the wilderness, that doesn't have all the rules that the city has, the ways you have to be, ways you can't participate. But there are these other rules that you haven't learned yet, and you're gonna mess up some of them. You're gonna relate to your friends in new ways, but you're gonna mess up that too. And then of course Atlantis, like I said.
And then I see more allegory you've just presented there in the wilderness. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I started out approaching the wilderness and Atlantis in more of a dungeon crawl tactical kind of way.
Okay.
And then I had to bring it back. I'd be like, wait, Chris, you're making a story game, and so I had to find these story game resonances while still giving you places to explore.
Sure. Yeah, but I do think that, again, and Diamond, I'm sure you have a completely different perspective on this, because I'm viewing it very much from more or less the outside of that, but even just from my perspective on a lot of like the queer communities that I've been invited into and have seen, there's a lot to be said about just how like, wow, you're gonna find plenty to explore in the midst of that you could suddenly find, like, I'm sure Diamond, I think you even said it earlier, like, wait, I think I might be being called out right now. Wait, why am I being called out? Why is there hard truth being delivered to me? And it's not targeted at me, but it is, like.
Well, that was in response to, how you have ideas that are kind of shifting around for about 7 or 8 years. And it's just like, never have I felt so seen, but called out at the same time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But, especially with some of the queer allegories that are in Defy the Gods, and like even like in the playbooks alone, like the Wolfling, for example, and that's just like you grow up in one environment, and then you're told you need to go in and comply in a different environment, and I'm just like, huh. Wow. That's on close to home. Like,
I had the Wolfling in from the very beginning because of Princess Mononoke and how much that baked my brain. But like, I've got a couple different themes I'm trying to do there. Like, there's definitely issues of passing, like you don't really fit well with human society, but you're trying to find out more about it. And there's also like bisexuality and pansexuality, where there's a complexity to yourself, who you are, that either of those environments is going to flatten out, and you kind of need to be in both. But like what I say in the book is, maybe I was saying this earlier, you don't have to be queer to play it, but queer themes will definitely make your game better. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, and you're driving home, I think, very deeply, especially this is why I love having Diamond as a co-host, because sometimes I will read her emotional response to something and be like, I see, this is fun. Like,
I suppose on the other hand, like I look over and like just even look at like, because I was gonna mention, I was gonna ask that, will there be more playbooks coming in the core book? Okay.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah. So there's 6 in the core book. I think they're all in the quickstart, but there are 2 others that we're releasing as stretch goals in a PDF only, which are the Thief and the Demigod. So, but please go on.
But like looking at like a lot of these bunch here, like the sword, very much like you are a hammer. everything's a nail.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works really, really well. More often than not, it doesn't. And there's going to be collateral. And it's just like,
yeah.
Well, I don't think I've ever been like the bull in the china shop ever. I've been with friends, especially when we go out, and I'm the mom friend. I am the mom friend. I am I am the designated driver. I make sure everyone else gets home. But sometimes when we go out drinking, one of my other friends, violence seems to be the first option, and it's just like, oh honey, no, we can't go back there because you knocked out the bouncer last week. You remember that?
Oh god, yeah,
we can't go back there with you.
Oh no.
Yeah, I wanted the sword to be that, and to also be really big-hearted and willing to put their life on the line for their friends. You know,
love fiercely, but hit even harder.
Yeah, totally, and sometimes those things really were nails, and it's good you hit them with a hammer. Sometimes really, yeah.
The sorcerer. This just very much reads like the hermit friend that like they will come outside to go get something out of the kitchen, go get a glass of water, but you don't see them. They're like the introvert friend, it seems.
There's also totally. There's also some neurodivergence in the sorcerer where they're a lot more comfortable with their scrolls. You know, they're reaching past their comfort zone to connect with their friends, but it's tough. You know, sometimes their only real friend is some mage who lived in Atlantis like 2,000 years ago. Yeah.
Now I'm the one catching strays. That's fun.
I was reading Sorcerer and I'm like, I don't know where the connection point is, but then it's like, oh, okay, like understandable.
The Sorcerer is also, if I may add, just deeply trans because their body is always changing. And they don't know what spell they're going to cast before they cast it, so there's a lot of chaos in their life. So yeah.
Gotcha. So like reality itself to them is very mutable. Like it doesn't matter like today to tomorrow. It's things are going to change.
So they could literally become gender fluid. Is what I'm hearing.
Oh god. Yeah. In fact, the whole sorcerer's working table.
I've got my can of gender fluid right there. There's the sorcerer.
There you go. They're when they roll a miss on their sorcery, they have to roll on the sorcerer's warping table, it's actually a 66 table, like it's gonna have a strong bell curve, and as you get further out on that bell curve, you are getting very masculine coded traits or very feminine coded traits.
Oh, interesting.
And you could be all over the map each time you miss a spell. So that is I wanted that. At some point we can talk about the genders in this game too, but you were going through the playbook, so I don't want to stop you.
So the sailor,
polyamorous disaster.
Hey.
All right, there goes the strays again. I've steered them across the hall.
I like what is it? Polyamorous disaster lesbian in particular?
I don't know, because they are hard to pin down. You know, they're the citizens of many cities.
Where's she at? Anyway,
behind this guy, I think. Yeah.
I don't know if she's listening right now, but I love you, dear.
Yeah, she's listening.
I saw that.
She has mentioned time and time again. She is She is just the disaster. It's just like,
and I
love her for it.
It depends on the die roll. Sometimes the sailor works out great. Sometimes people, they still have a thing for you. You help them fall for a friend of yours. It's all good. Sometimes it's not all good.
Oh god, that sounds like how Valkyrie and I met, actually. Oh gods. Oh dear.
I was about to say, I've not stories I will retell here and now, but there are enough stories I've heard between the two of you to know that's that describes several different encounters I've heard of.
I mean, like on the light part, mutual friend, we were all sloshed. It was just like, hey, Dia, this is Valkyrie. You two should talk to each other. And then, it kind of tumbled into this now. So
yeah,
that's lovely. That's lovely.
The vessel. This.
Yes.
Ooh.
I feel like I might miss the goalpost here, but like I am part of the kink community. I've mentioned time and time again. I feel there is touches of that in here.
Oh God, it is totally. You're in a devoted, submissive relationship with an exiled god, not part of the pantheon, but somebody who is much more powerful than you are. And
this sounds healthy.
And they fill you with ecstasy and immortal power and miracles that you can perform. But to perform them, you have to wound yourself.
Oh, this sounds so healthy.
And unlike any other playbook, when you're performing a miracle, you roll plus an epithet like every other playbook, but you can only use a wounded epithet, but you're rolling with its unwounded worth. That might be hard to visualize while I'm just saying it, but basically your wounds become an asset, a strength. And you have a move where one of your default moves is respite, where that god can soothe you and heal your wounds if you've done well, if they're pleased with you. This one took some time for me to dial in because I have friends in kink, but I'm not in kink. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a tourist, but it's
okay. We love tourists.
So the nurturing nature of the relationship, the caring nature of the relationship, was something I had to dial in. Where it's not an antagonistic relationship.
Okay, all right. Yeah. See, I wasn't sure like how that was supposed to read. Maybe it's just more. It's like I've always seen it that like gods choosing their like just like I am your patron now. You're going to go do that. You're going to give me that thing you really cherish. Like I've never seen healthy god and mortal relationships. So this
is another thing I was trying to queer. I brought a lot of Elric into that playbook, and Elric is a really messed up relationship with Arioch, his god, who's really a demon, a devil, and it's messed up. But also Elric gets a lot of power out of that. But then I tried to make it this thing that is empathic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good.
So the ones that are, sorry if I can just say, the ones that are in the stretch goals are the demigod, who has sort of like the wolfling is of two worlds, but is rebelling against the destiny that their immortal parent set out for them. And they're trying to reclaim a lot of and Ray Najati wrote that one, and it's got a lot of biracial themes in it. And there's very much this tension between your two communities, and you are kind of taking all that power you were given and using it for your own thing. And the second one is the thief that I wrote, which is me as a real shithead, like me at my worst. Me in my 20s, it's like the sailor but pushed out, not in the polyamorous way, but in the kind of winking and you're never quite sure where they are. The thief is a backstabbing liar. I just tried to go hard with that and had a lot of fun with that.
Toxic.
Yes.
And Oscar's thrown out in chat like Hercules and Aladdin almost would be like some characters that we'd probably be familiar with that embody that. Well, at least I don't know if he was talking about the thief or the demigod. I think Aladdin might be the thief and Hercules the demigod. Which obviously, that's literally what Hercules was.
I mean, but, Aladdin's entire, love was built on a giant facade. So
total lie.
Even in the original story, that's what it was.
Totally. Or like the Thief of Baghdad, which I guess is sometimes conflated with Aladdin, but there's some amazing and some not so amazing movies of the Thief of Baghdad. But where that kind of like, you don't know where they're going to end up or where their loyalties are. And then the sailor was like Sinbad or Odysseus, kind of a mix of those.
Yeah. Well, and Oscar was asking, which of the playbooks would you place Xena Warrior Princess into, as far as a
sword.
I figured sword. Yeah, that's probably
that fierce. I'm gonna split rock with my glare that Xena has. I feel like is sword.
Yeah.
Xena's more of a hero than the sword is, but I think that's the closest.
Yeah. No,
there's real sword lesbian vibes with the sword.
It's in the name. Like, if you were going to use it as an inspiration, like, we're better. The thing I think I found the most interesting about the Revenant, and this is also kind of in a very similar vein as I was reading this. There's a small indie RPG called Necronautilus. I don't know, Chris, if you've heard.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Okay. Because that's another one that very much focuses less on equipment or anything like that. Like, it's very fluid about, like, you can kind of have whatever you need when you need it, because it's the way that the system is working. But basically, it's you play an agent of death, and you embody power through words. And so you pick a word of power at the start, and it has to be a certain number of syllables, and it needs to be general enough that by using it, you can use it in different ways. It can be flexible. So, like, one that they used in, like, their example text was the word volcanic. So volcanic can mean anger. It could also mean fire. And so by utilizing it, if you overutilize it, they also have, like, a very Powered by the Apocalypse, like, if you overcharge the word, it can actually fracture and split into different words.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's very like, I'm like, oh, you might like this one, because the whole concept is you're playing an agent of death who has forgotten everything about their past life other than the reason that they agreed to work with death and act as their agent. And so part of the game is, as you use your words of power, you might remember flashes of your old life and regain some of your lost humanity. And it's about rediscovery in a way, and maybe redefinition by extension. But it's very much the same kind of narrative sort of focus. And, like, just looking at the Revenant, very much like when you fall back into the old life, you show how their demons come closer. And I'm like, ooh, I get there's some of that embedded in that. And it's part of why I'm like, I need to play the game at some point. My friend bought the rule book a few years ago, and I was like, we've got to play this. We still haven't played it. But
I mean, that's the curse, Yeah,
but it truly, that's where I was, like, thinking of it through that lens of, like, when you talked about, like, how death is kind of always a presence, and how that having that character in particular, a character who is a Revenant in play, very much draws that even closer to the surface than if they were not present. Just because of some of those aspects. So that's, because like, I don't know, I think we mentioned the Revenant kind of the top of Diamond's list of questions, but where do they fall kind of within your kind of queer allegory of the playbooks?
They're a baby trans. They're figuring out who they are now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That checks out.
It could be a baby queer in general, but
fresh out the egg.
Yeah, fresh out of the egg. You know, one of your moves is I can be anybody, where if you roll well, you look and sound and act like a totally different person. And you wear that for, if you roll well, you wear that for as long as you want. If you roll too well, you wear it until you roll a miss. And like, your friends might not even know it's you. But it doesn't feel right. You know it doesn't feel right, but you can't get out of it. So like, there's this whole thing of like, oh God, I was dead before. You know, and before that, I was somebody else. I didn't even know I was dead. And
wow, that's a statement in and of itself. It's, I didn't even know I was dead, but I was.
Yeah, there's a you know, every playbook has a crisis, which is you at your lowest, which is when you mark all your wounds, and the Revenants. Yeah, and it's a scene. There's a prompt for a scene that you then play out, and the Revenants is something like. Wait, I've got it here. It's too much pretending you're not dead, pretending you've ever been more than a spectator in your own life.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the demons that are hunting you, they find you, and they drag a piece of you down to the underworld, and they only leave part of you behind because that part's dead anyway. Or at least that's how it feels in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And then you change an epithet to describe how passive, numb, or enthralled to death you feel. And that epithet becomes worth more, so it's more useful to use, but it's a description of you at your worst. So yeah, wow. So I had a lot of feels going into that one.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like as I think Diamond is having right this second. Yeah, no, that's incredible.
2019, 2020 was quite a year.
God, me too. God,
oh, you too?
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
That was big. 2019, 2021. Yeah.
March 20th. So,
yeah. The wander through that. I know the world in general all struggled, but I know, what I've heard of Diamond, and then, Chris, if you mirror Diamond where that's concerned, the stories I've heard have not been bright ones, to say the least.
So, I mean, out in the wilderness, but for me, the pandemic was actually fantastic. I mean, I did have to quit my job because I was so checked out. But like, that then coming out let me connect with something that wasn't checked out, that was really present, and so that was fantastic. But the Revenant is also somebody who makes it out of the underworld.
Sure.
Like Eurydice, if she made it out. So there is like that to it too.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I had to put myself in a box every time I went to work. Okay, like yeah,
fuck that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm swearing, but fuck that.
No, you're fine. We don't really police our language at all. We kind of say fuck whenever we want on this. So, we're deep enough into the episode.
That.
Yeah.
You're.
No, go ahead.
But I suppose like with the Wolfling, like where I kind of looked at it, it just like it kind of feels because like demigod, like I very much had like weight of, hey, you're going to go to school to become a preacher and you're going to go start your own congregation up in Idaho, and I'm like, what is Wolfling?
Wolfling is okay. So first, I just watched Princess Mononoke and I loved it so much. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
I have. I utterly love it. It's a beautiful story.
And there's this character in it who is a girl raised by wolves and wants to be a wolf and is never quite wolf enough and is as a result ugly and beautiful all at once. And so something about that really hit for me.
Okay.
And I it ended up being kind of like bisexual vibes. It ended up being kind of trying to pass and failing to pass and kind of working with that. Yeah,
because I know I had touched on it earlier, and it was just like, okay, just make sure I got my notes put together correctly, because I'm going to be also taking this to like the queer group that I run with. It's just like, hey guys, I found a game that we're all gonna sit down and have to really face our go face our demons.
I've got a game where we're gonna talk some hard truths and we're all gonna love it. Okay.
Look, between that thirsty sword lesbians, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of introspection.
Yeah, you're well armed for introspection and conversation at the very least.
With that in mind, that does lead to another question. What are there groups that Defy the Gods is recommended for? Especially because this is a game where relationships matter a lot.
I thought I was going to be able to run this game for my family, and I think there might be too much romance and kissing in it to run it with siblings. Having said that, it's a sprawling game. It's not as focused as Thirsty Sword Lesbians, So you can play it where the enticement and leveraging your relationships is friendships or obligations. And you can also play it where you are kind of neglecting that subsystem a bit, although it's richer, if you engage with it. But it's a sprawling game. There's a lot of ways to get try at least to get what you want, and sometimes get more than what you expected. So I mean, my ideal with the group, I wanted everyone to play it, but the group I specifically had in mind is sort of is you and your queer friends, where it's where the stuff that reflects the queer community is all stuff well known to you, and you get to play it out on the biggest stage imaginable, and you get to try on people you might not have tried being before, and you can play at having flirty relationships with your friends. Well, the characters your friends are playing. So that's like that's peak, and then from there it's any group of friends that's comfortable with relationships and their mechanics, and with a game that steers you toward intense relationships. And anybody who wants to give a big middle finger to the gods, like anybody who sometimes feels like maybe they were told God hates you, or maybe you feel like the laws are gunning for you. And if you want a chance
giving you the finger guns,
if you want a chance to clap back at that, and maybe you'll like this game.
The intersection of the punk in there is very much a thing.
Yes, totally.
I mean,
I'm a child of the 80s.
Queer is punk, so
you will. That on its own, but I mean, especially when you consider like if the main pillar of the kind of the world forces you're going against is governance, and less maybe the deities as such, but rather those that people revere as deific within the civilization or whatever, that could very quickly turn punk, and in a way that is cathartic, I think, right now for a lot of people, regardless of the walk that they walked.
And I started this game like 5 years ago. I had no idea that it was going to come out when Trump was back in office. I didn't know that. When and even without that shithead, like when state after state starts passing these anti-trans laws, I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to be timely.
And yet here you are.
And here we are.
Part of why my wife and I had to leave our state. So
I'm so sorry. Jesus.
We're working on I'm starting to see an upswing happen. So hopefully I'll get on my feet. But something that was mentioned also with like the world, because like you had mentioned like with their sort of lesbians, it's very focused. Like there is a very focused world. Because Emmerron, I do see those couple questions you do have, and it's just like we're good. That is definitely like we're definitely like the last important information right there. But,
No, we're chilling.
Like it being a sword and sorcery game, those kinds of games, no matter whether it be Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, Morkborg. I mean, they stay kind of focused, but the world's just collapsing in, so there's not going to be a lot to work with in the end.
You're playing raw entropy, the tabletop, basically.
Yeah. So the scope can get massive, though, in the case of sword and sorcery games. And especially because we are talking about a city, a lost civilization, a massive unexplored wild pantheon, and the underworld. Like, how do you keep the scope of the world manageable, but it's still big? Like what do you do for that?
Something that I found in sword and sorcery stories is that there's kind of a sawtooth pattern to the scope of them, where they start out really gritty on the street in a very film noir kind of city that has a lot in common with modern cities, whether this is Conan or Fritz Leiber's Fafnir and the Grey Mouser. They always start out like this, trying to find enough money for rent or whatever. Not that is mechanized in this game, but it's very street level. And then through a series of poor choices or bad rolls or two good rolls, things escalate until they kind of peak at a moment where you're, for a moment, like an immortal. And then you drop right back down to the city level again. And you see this the way every Conan story starts, and then something really wild and supernatural happens, and then it's dawn breaks or something, and he's back. Or with Fafnir and the Grey Mouser, this shit is always happening to them, and then they're always wondering why they're never rich, so the game Defy the Gods follows that pattern where you always have this very physical world around you, and you're based in the city, but so you're always kind of coming back to that city because you build, and I think that the gravity pull of that city just came about from the players investing so much in it that they want to stay there or return there. They'll travel to another city and then they'll return to this one, or they'll go out into the wilderness or to an Atlantean ruin and then they'll come back. And the mechanics make that happen because your fire track will max out, but once it does, you trigger the move Defy the Gods, and that leaves you back with 0 or 1 fire, very much at human level again. Regardless of what apotheosis, transfiguration happened in the middle of it, you drop back down to being a human again. And there's also a kind of rhythm to adventures, and then you're between adventures and the time scale zooms out and you do little downtime things like Blades in the Dark has, and then you go on a new adventure. So it really, the relationships and the things that inform the playbooks and the detail that you put into the city kind of pulls people back to that street level between arcs.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah.
And to make like the Great Columbo once, just one more question. Is it possible to just avoid setting off Defy the Gods, or is the move Defy the Gods just inevitable?
You can delay it. It's gonna happen eventually. It might take several sessions.
Okay.
When you roll too high, you sometimes mark fire. You don't always mark fire. But when you humiliate a world force, whether it's the gods or the city authorities or the beasts of the wilds or death, like when you humiliate a world force or max out your fire track, it triggers this move. So you can say, I don't want to humiliate a world force, and you can narrate that. But if your fire track maxes out, that move's going to happen.
Okay, so even outside the fire track, which I read, like there are just things you might do that just set off Defy the Gods. Okay,
if it feels consequential enough, and what I really tried to foster was to get the GM and the players really in sync with feeling the moment, with feeling what story beat are we at, and if it feels big, then yeah, you can all be like, nope, I think that triggers this move. But the game is written to try to make you want to trip that wire.
Yeah, embrace the inner punk and defy the thing that's oppressing you. Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. The first thing to mention, obviously, is Defy the Gods has been funded on Kickstarter. That phase of that is now done, and quite successfully from everything I could see about it.
The second one, but yes.
Yeah. Well, hey, if it doesn't work the first time, try again, right? And it worked the second time.
And very rewarding to do it. Yes.
Yeah. You didn't need the third charmed time. With that said, obviously, the core rule books I think you mentioned kind of before we start recording today, those are starting to kind of get into people's hands now.
About half the backers have them now.
Okay.
The other half are going out probably this week and this weekend. There might be some more people getting them next week, but we're also gonna, I'm gonna put this up for general sale now that backers are getting it. Probably next week. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So,
very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So the book exists. This is a standard edition, and it's a beautiful cover by Jacqueline Florencio from Brazil. And it's got some spot gloss on it. I love it. It's like 312 pages. And I got to show you the special edition.
Oh boy.
So.
Oh my.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dear Shiny, I want that so badly.
Yeah, with the ribbons and
that's
bookmarks
so
and
pretty.
So it is fucking beautiful, and it this is Tali Schellen from France, who did all the character portraits, also did this cover art, and it just has all the vibes I wanted of the world is ending but we're together, so I don't care.
That is truly beautiful. That's incredible.
Yeah. I could not get enough of them printed. So public peeps, make me get more printed.
I will be the first one on the bandwagon saying I want that one. I want that one, something fierce. That looks very, very pretty, and I want one.
I mean, if you're going to be at Gen Con, I'll make sure I've got the cash in hand.
Yeah.
I will be exhibiting at Origins. I won't be able to be at Gen Con because a friend's getting married that weekend.
Oh, understandable.
I will be at Origins. Revolution.
Yay, I'll see you there.
So I will see you there, and Diamond can send.
But Indie Press Revolution will be selling it at Gen Con, and there will be a bunch of games being run of it at Gen Con too.
Ooh, okay.
And at Origins for that matter.
Yeah. Good to know. So yeah, Diamond, we can plan whatever downtime we have from running our Telsorian stuff. We can
downtime.
So yeah, well, we get a little of it.
I got a lot of it last year, but yeah.
Well, we don't count getting your internal organs removed as downtime. That doesn't count the same way. Yeah.
For me, playing the games that I buy at the con helps with con drop.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so the thing that, Chris, you may not know the deep lore here. Diamond, we both every year for the last several go to Gen Con. We usually helping out our Telsorian games with their different game library, all of the different titles that they are exhibiting there. And so usually I'm the one kind of managing things, and Diamond is one of the runners. Problem is, day one, it was about halfway through the day, we had to cart her off to the ER because her eyes had turned yellow, and I'm like, that's not a normal shade for your eyes.
Yeah.
So she was in a hospital in the middle of Indiana for all but the very last day of the con, basically.
That's so terrible.
Starting Thursday night. So yeah, she left back to come back to Phoenix with me here. One less appendix on her person.
Gallbladder, not appendix. I think my appendix.
Your appendix is fine. You're right. It was your gallbladder. Either way, it was. It was.
That's so hard.
Not great. So this year, you will be able to play games. But
good.
So the question, with all that kind of aside out of the way, are there more releases of any kind planned to accompany Defy the Gods, or is it kind of like a one and done release in your eyes?
I really want to support it. I think there's a lot to be offered in terms of adventure seeds. You know, I call them seeds because it's like, okay, here's a premise, and it can be rather involved. It can have many stages to it, but it's basically a premise, and there's a question that ties each play into that premise. And that is enough to get a really deep game going, because then you build the world based on that. And I want to write more of those, and I would love to write more playbooks. I haven't thought of any yet, but like So more adventure seeds, hopefully more playbooks. If I get really ambitious, more world forces to weave into it. It's kind of like, I'm also thinking now, you could do a science fiction game with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be particularly difficult.
And it would actually probably be cyberpunk because it would have that gritty film noir city.
It could.
It
could. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and your world forces just shift to corporate powers, governments.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those are gods.
Corporate powers, demons into cyberspace, and we'll workshop it.
Yeah. No.
There you go.
There's something to be done there, I think. I know Diamond is definitely chomping at the bit to write for projects exactly like that.
But I do want to support the game to answer your question. Yeah.
Well, because you're right. At its core, I mean, the ancient Babylonia, fantasy ancient Babylonia is just that's a beautiful setting, and it's got a lot of really romantic kind of mysticism to it, just because, like you've said, it kind of sits at that very dawn of what we understand modern civilization to kind of develop out of, because of the things we do know of it.
With a surprisingly modern sensibility, like it's a very urban society. It's wild.
Right. So there is a desire to continue supporting this.
Yes.
And so we may see more in the future.
Definitely. Exciting. And for the stretch goals, those 2 extra playbooks and 2 adventure seeds are going to be released. So we'll get some extra content right out of the gate.
Oh, that's fun.
That sounds lovely.
And so then once and this is happening sooner than I had anticipated. So once it is beyond just getting into Kickstarter backers' hands and you do put it up for sale, is this something where you're selling like direct to consumers, or is it something where it's gonna go through a distributor? Like what's the plan? Both.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna put it on drive-through. I'll probably put it on itch. I will be distributing it. Well, I'll be selling it to retailers and consumers through Indie Press Revolution, through my own website, through Plus One EXP's website, because they're fulfilling the Kickstarter. And I am talking to consolidators who can get it to more distributors and more retailers. So it's definitely a thing that you can order from your friendly local game store.
Nice. Okay.
And if you have one, you should.
Yeah. No. And I know we've got a couple local to us here that are definitely
right on.
Definitely the right vibe for that. I'm thinking of Gamers Guild in particular is one of the ones local to Phoenix that I know they're very, very inclusive as a space.
Nice.
So might need to chat with them. That's very exciting where Defy the Gods is concerned. Obviously, as we kind of talked about very briefly, kind of at the start of things, there is also Raccoon Sky Pirates.
There is,
And I love the chaotic gremlin that is the raccoon. So I now want to hear, what's the pitch for that lovely game?
Okay, you are raccoons. You live in the junkyard where you build a flying ship out of trash. You fly it across town one night to a suburban house, get in, steal everything you can before the lights come on, and try to make it back home without exploding. But things keep going wrong because you're raccoons. It's a GM-less story game with a lot of board game elements to help you visualize your adventure and also keep things running on track. It's like 3 well-defined scenes of getting there, being in the house and stealing everything and trying to get back. And there's all these disaster cards that you play to, when your roll goes wrong. You're a raccoon, so you don't know what you're going to do before you do it. So you're rolling a d12 to see what you do. And every raccoon or possum or pigeon or rat or roach has a different list of 12 things they might do. And 12 always makes things worse. But the others are like, it could be a wild variety of things. And then based on the approach you picked, it's helpful or not. And so based on the approach you picked, what you roll, whether it's helpful or not, and what else chaos is already going on, then you narrate your part of the scene. and you pass it to somebody else, and it moves very quickly. It's a great beer and pretzels game. The original game, like we were talking about, I think before starting, is you know, was a $25 mailer box, all black and white. The deluxe version that I'm about to kickstart, the Total Chaos Edition, is it's going to be in a bigger box, and it's going to have a lot more components, but most of them are going to look like they were stolen from other board games.
I love it.
I love that.
It's make the fiction fit the box. In other words,
like there's a Monopoly board that got the inside cut out, and then you place Catan tiles down in it. And they've all had white out put over them and something else written in the middle. Like, you know, there's playing cards. There's random pieces from other games that you're putting on your playmat to make your selections. There's poker chips that represent the trash you get, like gold doubloons. And you know, and you're writing on that or doing a little drawing of your trash with a dry erase marker. So there's like all these things. And for the high tier backer, I want to make a little mini of a dumpster with flames coming out of it. That represents your ship going across the neighborhood. So like, watch for that. Yeah.
Okay.
I hear Sky Pirates, and like my first thoughts is Final Fantasy, and it's just like, oh gosh, but just the chaos of it.
But if you're raccoons,
like, oh my goodness.
But yeah,
if you built the ship out of trash.
Yeah, they're fuzzy chaos gremlins instead of well-organized crime syndicates.
Yeah.
That's
masked bandits. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Ain't that the truth? No, that's because that's a game that I know I could get some people to sit down and play, and I really, really want to like have a game night where it's like, okay, guys, we're playing as raccoons tonight. Like, yeah, no, that
it really works for GM-less because nobody knows what they're doing, you know. You're just passing the spotlight around. It's about 2 to 3 hours to play, depending on how much you get into your scenes, and like very little setup. You know, you just sort of spread out the pieces and go. Like, there's so many ways that this game is bigger than the original. Like the original, you're going around the house, a map of a house, and I just got plans of houses off the internet, you know, at black and white on letter-sized paper that I fold in half, and then you have to supply your own bottle caps or whatever to go around. So for this game, I'm asking some professional architects to make big tabloid-sized house maps that are just like totally cracked out versions of a ranch house or a Victorian or an open plan house, and those are kind of amazing. And I've got custom bottle caps that like represent each raccoon that come with the box, come with the game. So there's all stuff like that where I'm going way too overboard again.
I think that's the right kind of overboard for a game about raccoons. I'll be honest. I think you're doing just the right amount.
Okay, good.
The trailer house might have plenty of interesting treasures, but it is tiny, and the chances of being detected probably so much higher.
But you could do like 4 trailer houses all together, you know?
Yes. You could just do that. This corner of the trailer park, kind of.
Yeah, and like off in the corner, one of them's just an RV, you know? Yep. Gosh. Oh man, and then if the Kickstarter does well, I want to do stretch goals like Raccoon Space Pirates, Raccoon Time Pirates. Like, can you imagine Raccoon Space Pirates? Like, instead of a Monopoly board, like you've got a Trivial Pursuit board. It's had the middle cut out where you put hex tiles in, but each hex is a planet now instead of a different place in the neighborhood that you're passing over.
Goodness.
And then you just steal shit from these planets. You try to make it to the big planet or something, you know, whatever, the rich one. And then of course Raccoon Time Pirates would be like a snakes and ladders board, and you're jumping around in time periods. And you don't know which one you're gonna go to next.
Time to break out the fossilized violence rules in the midst of all that.
Yeah, that's James's new game where you're playing. It's very. It feels kind of board gamey. It does have a GM, but it's very like you're playing with your old dinosaur, like rubber dinosaur toys from when you were a child, with like little caveman figures, and he's got the rules such that regardless of how oversized or undersized your dino is, the toy that you're playing with, you can make stats that are appropriate for the space it occupies relative in your environment.
That's great.
Popping up in the in that era.
If I can just say, so for the original game, I did some seasonal expansions. Raccoons Save Christmas, Raccoons Are for Lovers, and I want to lean into that with a new game too. Like I want to get like one of the maps be a haunted house. I want to for Halloween, and then for like the 4th of July, I want to do like the White House.
President's Day.
President's Day, even better. Yeah.
Oh boy,
yeah.
It's a funny tradition that my wife and I started like many years ago at this point, and it wasn't because we wanted to celebrate it. It was what weekend is a 3-day weekend that no one else has plans on that we could throw a barbecue on. President's Day every year.
And there's deals.
And now I'm imagining we have to pull out the President's Day edition of the Raccoon Sky Pirates game and play that at our barbecue. Because that would be really funny.
Like, the expansions would be relatively light lift, and then those additional games, Raccoon Space Pirates, Raccoon Time Pirates, it could still be the same base game. You just add new hex tiles, add a new frame board, add a couple custom disaster cards that you shuffle in. So like I want to. And I want to do one for Black Friday. That's Black Flag Friday, where you're raiding like a Walmart.
My God.
Big department store.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's
and
really...
you're getting in there right before it opens to the public.
That's Diamond, I think we'll have things to like learn, maybe do a second edition of our Night City Guide to Holiday Shopping. We developed a Cyberpunk Red homebrew between the two of us. That was I made it so that you could print it on printer paper, and it just folded in half, and you could staple it and you could print your own physical copy of this thing at home. And it looks like a little ad pamphlet, but it's full of mostly useless, somewhat nichely useful knickknacks that you and your party might want if you're living in Night City. And the core conceit at the end was we wanted to have a Black Friday rule set, essentially, for like, if you're going into a shop in the middle of Night City on Black Friday, what could happen? What chaos could unfold? And so now I'm imagining that with raccoons, and I am like, this may need to be a thing.
Now I'm picturing Cyberpunk Raccoons, and that is just off the hook.
We have a DLC for that, that you could do that.
We have rodents.
Very easily.
Oh, awesome.
We have rats.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah. And there are rules for that now that we didn't have when we originally made that. So we might have to, there's some thoughts.
Oh, God.
So, out of curiosity, I don't know if you have this detail nailed down yet or not, but the new edition of Raccoon Sky Pirates, when does that Kickstarter launch? Or
late May.
Late May, okay.
I'll give you a link to sign up to be notified when it goes live, but we are racing toward that date. Yeah,
no, because like when you say it's soon, I'm like, I am making a note to myself right now so that I don't lose track of that. And that way I can be on the backer list for that one.
Right on.
I want it. The utter chaos. So it's, Oscar says, here's another idea. It's Ash Wednesday. What are we stealing today?
Oh!
The Vatican, I think, could be a fun little...
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
That's the President's Day one.
Yeah.
I'm going to let somebody else make the Holy Week adaptation, expansion to Raccoon Sky Pirates. I don't know if I want to touch that third rail there.
That's entirely fair, yeah.
Fat Tuesday would be an absolute riot.
Ooh,
Fat
Mardi
Tuesday
Gras.
is the idea.
Okay, now that's got legs. Like New Orleans, French Quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Back to school.
Back to school day. Yeah.
There's so many good ideas
Just
there.
robbing an elementary school before it starts class.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no.
Sorry, my brain's going places.
You guys,
No.
I gotta write these down. I gotta
No.
write them down.
This is where, like, yeah.
Like,
This is where we will literally freewheel this forever, because like, I mean, just thinking, I mean, there's something deeply absurd that is so fun to think about. Like, all right, what could work for a bunch of little like furry woodland critters causing utter chaos? What's the most absurd location you could find them?
yes.
I mean, you know, Emmerron
Yes.
and I are both Eagle Scouts. Just
Yes.
robbing a scout ranch.
I've
Just hit the scout ranch.
Oh my god. Well, we've had, that's not even a fiction.
That's
that
a
has
real
happened.
thing.
I have been robbed. Well, no, not me.
Oh,
My tent mate by raccoons or other forest rodents of some kind. Yeah.
Oh.
No, one of the things I would tell you because this was like when I was in middle school, one of the things they tell you at scout camp, that is like a ironclad rule. Do not, even if it is sealed in a bag, do not bring food into your tent, because the tents that they would give us were not really sealed. They're not like the synthetic fabric zip up. They're old canvas A-frame
on frame
tents.
I remember.
And so
I did this.
yeah. So one year, my friend who was my tent mate for the week, he either forgot about or neglected to follow that rule, and he had a bag of Cheetos that he had bought from the camp trading post, and he left it under his cot in his bag, and we found Cheeto dust everywhere inside of our tent after we got back from the day's activities. And I was like, what did you do? Like,
wow.
I think he got into a bag of Fun Dip too, now that I think about it. Just the powder everywhere.
We would raccoon bag any food we had in camp. And the couple times we've seen raccoons dangling off the bag for dear life, it's just like, well, you got up there, figure it out.
Right? Yeah. It's all you now, buddy. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, it's been how has it already been this? Okay, wow.
Yeah. This is sped by, y'all.
Oh, this really has.
So, Chrys,
go ahead, Devin.
I'm writing down these ideas too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, talking about Defy the Gods, and also Raccoon Sky Pirates here at the end. We hope to see more from you. And where can people? I guess just on the net, because I've got the itch link posted. Where else can people find you?
So I'm at hecticelectron.com. That's electron, not electric, for better or worse. Hecticelectron.com. You can find out all about my games. I also have a Good Vibes newsletter that you can sign up for there called The Everlasting Never-Ending Game Night. And then I'm at Hectic Electron on Tumblr and Instagram and Blue Sky. And then Plus One EXP is fulfilling Defy the Gods, and they'll be selling it afterward. And Indie Press Revolution will have a bunch of them. And I think that's just about everything.
Beautiful.
All right.
Well, Diamond, we did forget to ask this of our guests on Tuesday, but there's an important question. It's the same one. We always ask this, and I'm thinking we need to do this regardless of if Fish has actually asked this or not.
Oh, I forgot to ask Fish's question.
It's okay. I will get the answer for you when I see our other guests again, because I will see them again. But Chrys, we need to know, what is your ideal sandwich?
Okay. All right.
You've adopted that.
It's good bread, cream cheese, basil, cranberry sauce, and turkey.
Ooh. All right.
That sounds lovely.
The basil is clutch.
That I'm like, I can imagine how that tastes, and that sounds very good. All right. But yeah, Chrys, thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening with us. We so greatly appreciate it, especially since you're 2 hours behind us. So
3 ahead, but yes.
You're three. Behind ahead with time is always
behind
confusing.
ahead, whatever. I'm 3 darker.
Yeah. But you're 3 darker, than we are. I forget. You're 3 time zones.
Columbus, for some reason, everybody wants to be on Eastern time if they can possibly justify it. So Ohio
it's
did. Yeah.
So true. Yeah. No. We always Arizona's weird because we don't change our clocks. So part of the year we are only 2 from you.
That's so good.
It's
you might be. Yeah.
No, we're 3 now. We're 3 now.
Yeah.
But we
God bless you for doing that, and may we all follow your one day.
I would love the rest of the country too, so I don't have to do this stupid math.
I mean, Ohio is like I'd like to joke about this, but when I lived back in the Midwest, Ohio is just the one like distant cousin that shows up to the Midwest family reunion. Wrong time zone.
Wrong time zone. Yeah. But Chrys, thank you again so much for being with us. I am very excited to get my hands on both of the games that we've talked about and to see what you do in the future. But yeah,
and hopefully we'll see you again.
Yes, hope so. Yes, and swing by my booth at Origins for you, Emmerron, and
I will.
Yeah, want to see you all again one way or another.
Yes, it will happen. But yeah. So YouTube, Spotify, chat, regardless of which of these you are in, we're addressing all of you right now. This is the end of our show. I hope all of you have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Stay healthy, stay safe, until we see you all again. Peace, guys. Goodbye.
Good night.
Good night.